We finally have all three sonar brands with a high detail, real-time live sonar option. Garmin started it in 2018 with LiveScope, Lowrance launched ActiveTarget in late 2020, and now we have Mega Live from Humminbird in 2021. So whose real-time sonar offers the most, and which one should you buy? There's a lot that goes into answering those questions, and I'm going to do that for you today in this video. I'm Lauren with In-Depth Sonar, and thanks for checking this video out. If you want some history on the real-time sonar race, check out the video in this card so you can see where it all started. If you're one of the 440,000 people who have already watched it, thanks for making it my most successful video to date. All three brands offer the same views but refer to them a little bit differently with their own branding. In this video, I'm going to generically refer to the different views to keep things consistent between the brands. Garmin calls this view Live View Forward, while Humminbird and Lowrance just call it Forward. Garmin calls this Live View Down, while Lowrance and Humminbird call this view Down. Garmin calls this view Perspective, Lowrance calls it Scout Mode, and Humminbird calls it Landscape. I'm just going to refer to them like this: Forward, Down, and Overhead, regardless of what brand we're looking at, to make things less confusing. So as you can see, all three manufacturers basically do the same thing, but on paper is one better than the next. The transducer specs can help point us in the right direction to make that decision. We'll start with Garmin, as they were the first, and generally when you're the first, you've spent the time to perfect the sonar beam size and slap a patent on it so only you have it. The LVS34 transducer has a beam size of 20 degrees by 135 degrees. The frequency is 530 to 1100 kilohertz. The power rating is 500 watts, and they claim a range up to 200 feet. We'll treat this as the standard and see how others stack up against it. ActiveTarget from Lowrance was the next to come out and has pretty well the same specs as the Garmin. The beam is 18 degrees, not 20, and the low frequency starts at 550 kilohertz, not 530. These are minimal differences, and the beam size is really the only thing that may cause a slight difference. 2 degrees narrower beam should provide a more slightly detailed image, but in all I've seen, I don't really see a higher quality sonar image on ActiveTarget over LiveScope. Mega Live is the latest to be released, so it should be the most advanced, right? The range is listed at 150 feet plus, which is 50 feet less than Garmin and Lowrance. But realistically, you're rarely ever going to be running this more than 150 foot range in the forward or overhead views. I guess you may in the down position, but again, that's going to be extremely rare for a typical fisherman who would purchase these products. Humminbird has the same beam as the Garmin at 20 degrees, but they've reduced the beam width down to 120 degrees over the Garmin, which is 135. The Mega Live frequency is actually a little bit lower than Garmin and Lowrance at 1.05 megahertz, or 1050 kilohertz. Surprisingly, the one with the Mega name in its product is actually 50 kilohertz lower in frequency than their competitors. So what does all this mean? We've seen higher detailed images on the Garmin and Lowrance, but one thing we still have on Garmin and Lowrance is the beam stitching that can sometimes be annoying that you'll notice on the different units. Mega Live seems to have gotten rid of this, but it doesn't have the same detail level as the Garmin and Lowrance offer. Humminbird really improved on the mounting system with Mega Live's hinged landscape mount. Just pinch in the 2 buttons and rotate it up. This is the easiest and most compact overhead view system on the market. The funny thing is, if you're a Humminbird user, you probably would rather have Mega 360 than Mega Live in the landscape mode, so sadly this almost makes it pointless. But nonetheless, when we compare it with Garmin's Perspective mount and Lowrance's Scout Mode mount, you can see how much more compact it is, and how there is no knob to worry about backing off. Mega Live is going to work on Mega DI and Mega SI Plus models on the Helix G3 8-inch and up. And if you have the new Helix 7 G4N or higher, the Mega Live will also work on that. It'll also work on Solix G3 and all Apex models. Lowrance ActiveTarget will work with HDS Live, HDS Carbon, and the new Elite FS units. Garmin has the most compatible units with their LiveScope, and I'm not going to mention them all, but if you want to see if yours is compatible, go to Garmin's website, find the LiveScope system, then click on Compatible Devices and start scrolling to find your model. And it's still going. Lowrance and Garmin products both require a heavy sonar module that the transducer plugs into. The ActiveTarget and LiveScope come in at just over 4 pounds. When you add in the transducer to that, you're a little over 6 pounds, like this guy right here who came in at 6 pounds 2 ounces. These modules both also require 12 volts to power them. They have a single Ethernet port on the box that the sonar information is sent to the display through. This is one of the biggest differences with Humminbird. No sonar module is required. The transducer plugs directly into the Ethernet port or network box. So from an installation perspective, you'll probably shave an hour or so from the install cost if you're paying someone to do it for you with Humminbird. But aside from that, having a box doesn't bother me. What bothers me is the single Ethernet port on the box. I think Garmin and Lowrance should both have had at least 2 ports on the box. When you use an EchoMap unit or an Elite FS, they only have 1 network port on it, so that forces you to buy a network hub if you are linking more than 2 devices, which pretty much everybody in a typical freshwater boat setup would be doing. So Humminbird really has the advantage here, right? Not so fast. Humminbird really is no better without the box. In fact, I wish they did have a box with multiple Ethernet ports on it. If you plug your Mega Live into a Solix or Helix, you have now used the only Ethernet port up, and you're forced to buy their 5-port expansion switch to allow a second or third unit to be tied in. So the reality is, with Humminbird, you'll likely need a box as well. And you might need 2 boxes with Lowrance and Garmin. If you go with an HDS Live or a Garmin EchoMap Ultra or one of their 8600 series units, you will get 2 Ethernet ports on that and possibly eliminate that issue of a network hub. All of the real-time sonar kits cost about the same at $1,500, but some offer more value than others. First, Garmin comes in at $14.99 for the LiveScope system, and if you want the overhead view, or perspective view as they call it, it's $99 more. So that brings you to $1,600 for Garmin. Lowrance ActiveTarget is $14.99, and their Scout mode is included to give you the overhead view. Humminbird Mega Live is also $14.99. With the hinged mounting system, there's no additional mount to purchase or install. Now, like we've mentioned, with Humminbird there is no sonar module required. The transducer just plugs into the Ethernet port on a compatible unit. So without the module, the question comes, why is Humminbird the same price if it doesn't have a module? Humminbird built the sonar module into the transducer similar to how Garmin did that on their early Panoptix transducers. There is a 12-volt power cable that connects directly to the transducer, and you'll notice it is quite a bit larger than the other 2 brands. The next thing we have to look at to understand the value of the product is what displays can these transducers be connected to. After all, you need a display for this to work. So we know the cost of the real-time sonar systems, but now let's look at the cheapest way to get into the most popular screen sizes from each brand in their 7-inch, 9-inch, and 12-inch units. Starting with the 7-inch units, if you go with the Garmin EchoMap 73CV UHD, you're looking at $650. The 7-inch Elite FS is $750, and the Humminbird Helix G3N is currently not compatible with Mega Live, but the upcoming 7-inch G4N models will be, and they are going to come in at $750. 9-inch seems to be the most popular screen size to run a real-time sonar option on, with Garmin's EchoMap 93 SV UHD at $1,100, the Lowrance Elite FS9 is $1,200, and the Helix 9 Mega SI Plus is the most expensive of the group at $1,500. If you go to the 12-inch screen size, you'll be into the EchoMap 126 SV Ultra at $2,900, the Lowrance HDS Live 3-in-1 at $3,100, and the Helix 12 Mega SI Plus at $2,500. I personally feel the best value is in the Lowrance because you're getting their high-end unit with the HDS 12 Live. This pricing is designed to show you the cheapest way to get into these systems. But for the 12-inch units, let's look at their high-end offerings so you get a sense of why I think Lowrance is the best value. The Solix 12 Mega SI Plus G3 model from Humminbird is going to run you $4,500 with Mega Live. And the Garmin GPS Map 8612 XSV is going to be $5,600 with LiveScope and the perspective mount. Of course, there are other screen sizes like 10-inch and 16-inch, for example, that some brands have in common. But the purpose of this is to compare apples to apples, and all 3 brands have the 7, the 9, and the 12-inch screens. Are you noticing a trend here? You're basically paying the same amount for the smaller screens, and the larger screens are within a few $100s of each other. Now, there are ways to save and get the price down, as these are MSRP prices. So make sure you check out the video in this card for my system on buying electronics and making sure you get the best price possible when you're ready to buy. With each brand offering a real-time sonar option now, did the multi-brand setup just get killed? This may have moved Humminbird users one step closer, but for Lowrance and Garmin users who want to add 360 imaging, the only option still is Humminbird. So if you prefer Garmin or Lowrance, but want 360 on your boat, you're gonna have to add a Humminbird. If you're a Humminbird guy, then you really have no reason for any other brand on your boat. They are the leader in the single brand network. They have boat control completely covered with trolling motors and shallow water anchors. Finding structure is covered with their Mega SI Plus and Mega 360. And now with Mega Live, watching fish react in real time is also covered. But the clarity of Mega Live may still cause some to add a Lowrance or Garmin to their Humminbird system rather than Mega Live. We've gone over all aspects of the different products, but haven't touched on the image quality, which is probably one of the most important things on deciding which brand to buy. I think the best way to deal with this is put 3 brands up on the screen and let you decide for yourself. This can be slightly subjective, but there are some obvious differences between the brands that I think you can clearly see. With that said, I don't want to knock anyone's product because let's face it, I'd rather have Mega Live than no real-time sonar at all. But there are clearly clearer options if you aren't loyal to one brand. Personally, I think I would run Lowrance right now for the way that I fish. I find their units the easiest to use. They have the best GPS for positioning on structure. I like the Ghost trolling motor the most out of everything that's out there right now. The only downside is no 360 imaging and a slight delay in the ActiveTarget update rate when compared with LiveScope. So if you're a more serious angler than me, you may want to consider the faster responding Garmin LiveScope. Garmin is the leader today in sonar technology, and they have been for several years. They are the most innovative company with products that exceed the expectation of most anglers. Their backwards compatibility is also something that the others really can't offer. Best of all, they are still innovating their current LiveScope product, which is now 3 years old. With recent software updates, they've added features that Lowrance, who has a newer product, still doesn't offer. If you want one brand to seamlessly integrate with everything that's on your boat, then it's Humminbird for sure. Minn Kota and Humminbird are owned by the same company, and your trolling motor and shallow waters anchors can talk with your Humminbird unit for precision boat control. My knock against them is their user interface. On both the Helix and the Solix, I personally don't like it, but they're the second most popular brand today, so obviously many find them very easy to use and not as cumbersome as I do. Also, the clarity on the Mega Live isn't what we've come to expect from a Humminbird product with the name Mega attached to them. What do you think is going to happen next? Lowrance and Humminbird have now followed Garmin with their real-time sonar options. Do you think Garmin and Lowrance will come out with a 360 option to follow Humminbird? Or is Garmin going to step things up yet once again and blow our minds with a 3D real-time sonar option? Or will we all be shocked and the next big thing come from Lowrance, who really hasn't innovated all that much in the last several years, sonar-wise? LiveScope has been tested and proven over the last 3 years. ActiveTarget breathes new life into Lowrance. Mega Live is finally here to perfectly round out Hummingbird's offering for a complete system. So with all this info, which one are you going to choose? Let's talk about it in the comments below. If you've already got something, are you happy with it? Or do you wish you bought one of the other brands? I'm really interested to hear your thoughts on that. Check out these other videos that may be of interest to you once you leave a comment on this one, and thanks for watching, subscribing, and liking the video.